You know, I first came to New Orleans in 1983, and this city had grabbed me by the heart, and to this day, it has just never let me go. I will never forget, I came into town, young lad out of law school, and I stayed at the St. Louis Hotel down on Bourbon Street. And in the room was the wackiest looking drinking fountain I've ever seen in my life. And you know, it was about 2 years later that I figured out that I had seen my first bidet. But I will tell you something. I fell in love with this city. You got to love New Orleans, and it grabbed me and it never let me go. 22 years later, as a more seasoned man in my 50s, I was forced to define and articulate what I just knew in my heart as a young man in my 20s. For as I traveled the country in the aftermath of Katrina, I was so often asked, why? Why rebuild? Aren't we better to just let it go? And I will tell you that the answer to that question is an emphatic no, and for very good reason. We are the place where the Midwest farmers, when they grow their wheat and they put it in barges and they want to export it, they export it down here, we transship it, and we send it out to Mexico or wherever it may go. And when that farmer drives that tractor, you know what? He's driving it on diesel fuel that was refined here. So let him try to do that without us. And I'll tell you, we are a place where the steel, when it comes in from overseas and goes up into the heartland of America, just put on barges here. Without us doing that, they wouldn't have that steel. We build the nation's ships. We refine the nation's fuel. We ship the nation's goods. And we provide a quarter of the nation's seafood. The fact is that if New Orleans wasn't here, they would have to build it here. But you know what? If they tried to do it, they could just never get it right. They could never give us what we have. Because as everyone in this room knows, in addition to being a vital to our nation's economy and security, New Orleans is emphatically the most unique, special, and magical city in the United States, if not the world. We are the result of a special blend of Spanish, French, African, Caribbean, and American cultures that have somehow combined to give us the greatest music, the greatest art, the greatest food, and the greatest culture anywhere on this earth. And it's all served up. It's all served up in a magical atmosphere of history, culture, fun, and soul that you get nowhere else. You know, without our rich cultural diversity, that blend, that soul, it just could not exist. Yes, it's our diversity. It's our diversity that is the nub of what makes New Orleans so great. And with all of that going for us, we could be the greatest city in the world. But sadly, we are not. We have allowed the diversity that lies at the core of our strength to split us apart and prevent us from moving forward. Katrina exposed this at its worst. And in the aftermath of the storm we called Katrina, we suffered from a second, a more perfect storm that was the most devastating failure of leadership at the federal, state, and local levels that our country has ever seen. We suffered and we continue to suffer. But ladies and gentlemen, today is the time to start turning that around. My friends, we owe it to ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren to do better than we have done. We must, and we must quickly. So I think that it is impossible to overemphasize the importance of the upcoming election for our next mayor. We must come together and get behind a strong, tireless, effective leader who can bring the diverse cultures that account for the strength of our city together as one and unify them behind a well-thought-out plan that allows our businesses to thrive and create an economic engine that gives opportunity for all, whether they be black or white, Hispanic or Asian. I know Troy Henry, and I can tell you that he is that leader. He can reach out across racial divides and cultural divides and bring us together. He has the drive and the passion, the intellect and the integrity to effectively implement his plan and get this city working again. We need a leader who can use the fruits of that economic engine to address our many problems and work day and night to give us the police force, the schools, the roads, the sewer and water system, and the parks that we need and we deserve. Troy Henry, he has the vision, the dedication, and the experience and the expertise to get that job done. We need someone who can reach out not only to our own citizens and bring them together and address our local problems, but who can also effectively represent us in Washington, D.C. with the Obama administration and loosen up the long-promised federal funds that have yet to flow to our city. Troy Henry has a reputation for integrity and the ability to work with the Obama administration to give them the comfort level that they can release those funds to our city and we will use them to their best use. We need a leader who is committed to representing New Orleans in the best possible light, not only in Washington, D.C. and the rest of the United States, but to our trade partners throughout the world, for we are a port city. A hard-working, tireless leader who will take the calls, attend the meetings, and do the work required to effectively represent us to the rest of the world. Troy Henry will do just that. Troy Henry, he's a problem solver. He brings people together. He has the education, the experience, the expertise, the commitment, the passion, and the vision to overcome the issues we face as a community. He is the leader we need now. He can get the job done. So I ask you all to join with me and support making Troy Henry the next mayor of the city of New Orleans. It starts today.